Hello, I'm Jennifer Regular, welcoming you. So glad you are here. Scott Holmes is joining us today on Awaken and Ascend to take us from burnout to burning bright. Scott says, though, that recognizing burnout is only the first step. Our Scott Holmes is a quantum healing practitioner, transformational coach, and Amazon best-selling author whose work bridges science, spirit, and the human heart. Through one-to-one sessions, teaching, hospice volunteering, and his monthly podcasts, Scott has held sacred space for countless professionals and seekers, helping them to remember who they are and reconnect to their innate wholeness. Perfectly aligned with the work I do as well over at Lighting the Path, where I support those who are crossing over that threshold from the career into their calling through the path of sacred leadership by embodying who you are and who you came here to be and what you came here to do. So, Scott, welcome. I am so happy that you're joining us today and to be able to share how this work can be more sustainable so we can continue shining our light out in the world. So, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a sincere pleasure. It's you talk about leadership from the heart. It is so hard to be able to maintain
Mm,
that integrity,
mhm.
that authenticity, especially when you try to walk this life and try to fit in and try to maneuver around and get through everything. It's not always easy. And so getting reminders about who you are, where you are, and how you are on a daily basis for me is what it's about.
Yeah, those tries can become tribulations and trials in our life, can't they? And trying to be meeting others' expectations or live up to societal standards and all of that. And I find that many of the people that I've worked with over the last decade, anyways, have really gone the other way, more about standing out and, through thought leadership, sharing their ideas and their ways of being that are actually more authentic and a standard that comes more from what our soul's expression is of what we're here to pass on in this lifetime, more from a calling, more from a remembering. And then through that alignment, the activation, the transformation really happens so that we can share what it is that we can contribute in a meaningful way. But first, we have to really embody that for ourselves. And I know my healing journey took me through that through the decades prior and working with people that are really marginalized in society who didn't really have their voice. They had to succumb to what society told them to do and what they needed to do in order to receive the resources. And we get into that survival mode that creates some sort of failure to thrive in a sense because we're always in
Right.
that survival mode. And I think that's what leads to burnout is when we're not actually living our potential, not living in integrity or our authentic way of being and speaking that truth. We burn out. It drains us because that's not who we truly are. And so I'm really curious, Scott, about your journey and your discoveries. What actually lit your path?
Well, I'm on a men's panel discussion uh, on May 8th, and it the first question was, what lights you up? What was it that caused this?
Mm-hmm.
I lost my wife 8 years ago. She had a 20-year breast cancer journey, and you talk about survival. In going through that with my wife, the ups and downs, chemo, radiation, FDA studies, everything that we went through and what she had gone through, you are in complete and utter survival mode. Everything revolves around caregiving, the medications, the time, how she's feeling, how she's not feeling, what she can do, what she can't do, when there is a doctor's appointment, all of that when you're in a caregiving environment. And then when that's gone, wow, there is an emptiness. There is
Mm-hmm.
that really because your entire life is revolves around that and then it's just gone. And I looked at it as an opportunity
Yeah.
to reinvent myself. It took a while for me to get there, trust me. I did I did 5 years of weekly psychotherapy that helped me to understand who I was, help take all the layers. You know, you build up layers and layers of armor,
Mhm.
and they all came off, and they all kept coming off. And she was a brilliant therapist because she never let me get away with anything, um, which is, as a patient, it's very disconcerting because you feel pretty much naked. And then I was able to really find myself and my authentic self and understand that I wanted to share with the world all of this. I don't know about you, but as I've gone through different modalities, I see things clearer. I see things differently, and I want to share them. It's like, hey, I got this. Can I show you this? And there's that excitement. There's that wanting to help people because you have been helped by these modalities and these methods and these tools. And so, what lights me up is to see somebody change, to see have them come to you. I'm sure, much like your clients, they come to you, they have the question, they're not sure. And when the light goes on and all of a sudden they just take off, that lights my heart up so much because they had this answer within them all along. And what you said, they remember. They remember who they were meant to be in this world. When you strip away all of everything else that life has thrown on top of them and they get back to that, they find joy,
Mhm.
they find curiosity,
Yeah.
they find that spark. And all of a sudden, they're a different person.
Mhm.
They truly are because they can express themselves fully. And I know, and I've done research on you, by the way, young lady, and I know that you do incredible work with this. And it really is really nice to see how life can change when we change one person at a time. I
Yes.
wanted to change the world, right? I wanted to
Hmm.
change the world. I wanted to make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
And we do that one at a time. And then the ripples and the ripples and the ripples start. And that's where life will be better when all of those ripples come together.
Yes. Yes. So well
I hope
articulated.
that isn't too esoteric.
Not at all.
Okay.
Not on this show. Yeah, it's so true. Seeing that light come back on, that sparkle in people's eyes, that's true success for me. When we're able to uplift humanity in that way, and that raises the whole vibration of the planet as well. And we start feeling free. After all those layers come off, feeling the freedom to move more freely, to share, to express, and want to be able to do that naturally. It's naturally what emerges. There's no force, there's no pressure, there's no hustle in that. There may be some excitement, some enthusiasm. I'm full of enthusiasm.
I
It's what
kind of
keeps
noticed
me
that. Yeah.
young in midlife, is having that enthusiasm as a child still, because of that curiosity that you mentioned, right? And that's such a great remedy for fear is having curiosity. That helps us to kind of
Oh
just,
my God.
sidestep fear a little bit and not be in the fog. And I love this acronym for fog: fear, obligation, and guilt. So many of
Mm,
us are motivated by that. Not intentionally, but that's what we're
right.
motivated. That's what moves us. That's what causes us to create and do the actions that we do, or stay in the job too long, or get into relationships that don't really serve us, or stay in things that don't serve us way too long, like I did, was a huge pattern in mine. Recognizing something was off and not wrong, not quite aligned, but my sense of loyalty and wanting to help and serve and do better and try to perfect or master that situation in some way, out of fear, obligation, and guilt. And that's not where I want to be operating anymore. I know many that are tuning in right now also don't want to keep operating in that way. We need a new operating system. We need that upgrade. And that's why I'm so grateful. I did a little research on you too, Scott, about all the different healing modalities that you work with, because I really feel like we're bridges of healing and leadership. I'm not talking about political leaders. I'm talking about how we live, operate in the world, in our life, how we steward the kind of work that we're here to do. And so, with those healing modalities, those are ways, those are pathways that can take us in deeper into our soul work and what's needing to be expressed, but really just letting go of anything that's not us, so that can naturally emerge. And that's what I heard in what you were sharing there, Scott. And so, with all these healing modalities, what kind of things do you notice in people? How do we go from that burnout into burning bright?
Yesterday, me and my friend were just having a beer together, and the waitress comes over. She was just very nice, but very distracted. I said, "How are you doing?" And she kind of looked at me like, "Oh, like waking up." I said, "What's going on?" Well, I just graduated, college, and I'm waitressing, and I'm not sure what I want to do." And so I said, "Do you have a minute?" Because there were very few people there. She said, "Yeah." I said, "What excites you?" She says, "What do you mean?" I said, "What brings you joy? If you could talk for 20 minutes right now and tell me something, what, tell me." And she said, "Oh, I went for business and I got my business degree, but interior design." And I went, "Really?" I said, "Tell me about it." So she talked for a few minutes. I said, "Wow, that really lights you up." She said, "Yeah." I said, "Have you thought about doing that?" "Well, I can't find a job. I said, "Okay, how about some options?" And we talked back and forth. And then I remembered a friend of mine who's an interior designer. I said, "How would you like to talk to somebody, an interior designer doing the work?" I said, "She may not have a position for you, but she may know someone." She said, "Really?" I said, "Here's her number." Put them together. Do you know the smile on her face
Mm,
for the next hour as
wow.
she went table to table? She changed her entire outlook.
Yeah.
And my buddy looks at me and says, "How do you do that?" I said, "Do what?" He said, "How did you know she needed that?" I said, "It was the way she carried herself, how she was just, we meet people like that all the time. She needed that spark. She
Yeah.
didn't know which way to go. She knew what she wanted, but she didn't know how to get there.
Mm,
All I did was I put her on the first step of the ladder. What she chooses to do with that is up to her. But I have a friend who I know is looking for help, who could use somebody who's wants to get involved, and who knows where it leads. But at
mm,
least it gave her that. And she was noticed,
mhm,
she was acknowledged,
mhm.
and she was given direction. And all of a sudden, everything looked different. She was doing the same job, but she did it with this beautiful smile. Her teeth were showing the whole time, much like your smile, the whole time we were there
Oh,
afterwards.
it's beautiful.
And it's
Yeah.
just that connection
Yeah.
with people.
Hmm.
I find it doesn't have to be big.
That's right.
It's that small connection
Hmm.
that can change somebody's, um, I always call it putting the pin in the balloon. You know, some people are walking around in a balloon and they're just kind of there and they're just keeping everything away and they're walking the balloon. And I take the pin and I just pop the balloon so that they can see what's in front of them.
Mm.
I used to get kicked under the table by my wife all the time for that, but only because I ask questions that most people don't ask.
Mm.
Strangers anyway.
Yeah.
But it leads to conversation,
Hmm.
and I think that's what we're missing when we travel. And I just got back from Egypt, but when we travel, right, we go to a coffee shop in another country. and we're looking around, we're seeing, we're listening to different languages, we're listening to different people, and oh, there's somebody from the States, or there's somebody from Canada. Oh, I'm from Canada too. Now, when you were in your hometown and you go to the local coffee shop, do you even engage anybody else that you don't know? No. So it's perspective.
Hmm.
You're doing the same thing, getting a cup of coffee, but you're doing it in a different way. And now you're more open to doing that. So how can we be more open to those conversations, to those connections in our everyday life?
That's a great question. That's a really great question. And it also shows to the ripple effect that it has now on that server's rest of her day and all the customers that she served after being uplifted in that way and smiling more. There's that ripple effect that goes out, into those customers. And then they're more satisfied and then they leave and then they're happier. And it just keeps going on and on and on. And it's interesting
Yeah.
too, talking about that first step and not necessarily having to see the bigger picture. Often, though, I know when people are moving from the career into their calling or looking for another career, they're looking for another role to fill and are identifying themselves about what kind of role they want to be next. That's who they're going to be next, rather than really
Being
tuning
as,
into their
yes.
authentic selves. Who are they really, and being able to connect more soul to soul rather than role to role. And that's what I find with you and this server. It was, not connecting with, server and servant or whatever it might be in that dynamic. It was connecting soul to soul. And those are the kind of connections and relationships that I think would be so beautiful to try to cultivate more and more as we open up and we're curious, ask, ask some
We are
questions.
curious.
So interested in, even when going to a networking meeting, pitching instead of getting to know who's there and who's in the room and, getting to know each other in some way.
And speaking of that,
Mm,
you LinkedIn is everywhere and everyone is using it. And when I make connections to a quote somebody I haven't met, I ask the very first thing ask is, how can I help you do what you're doing? How
mm.
can I be more of a value to you?
Hmm.
And by the way, they're shocked. They're like, excuse me, what? You're not trying to sell me something? Wait. No,
Right.
I'm trying to make a connection.
Yeah.
How can I help you?
Hmm.
And then, I have a simple ask, how would you like to read the book before it comes out? Would you like to be an advanced reader for my book? I'm not asking you to read the whole book. I'm asking you to read a couple chapters. And really? Yeah. Before it comes out? Yeah. And that's the simple stuff. It's the one step. And
Yeah.
from that, I've gained clients, I've gained collaborators in different things that we're doing about because I know what they do, and hey, I know somebody who I can't do that, but I know somebody who can. The old, hey, I know a guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And but we all have those contacts and connections. And you doing this program have met hundreds of people
Yes.
who who have different specialties. And if somebody comes to you and you can't do something, you say, wait a minute, I know somebody that I trust that I can send you to. And
Absolutely.
that's the world I want to live in.
Yes.
And that's why I try to do that for other people,
Yeah.
to be able to allow them to be able to take the next step in whatever journey they're on. And if they ask for more help, I'm there. If I see them again, I'll say, "Hey, how did it go?" Life is very simple when we get down to it, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yes. Just devote your life to what you're most about. That's all you got to do.
Just be you.
Just be you. Just be you. And it's
And
so hard for so many people to just be them. They feel afraid. They feel uncomfortable. You
yeah,
know?
exactly.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add, I know we're coming to a close very quickly, is that on May 19th, the book From Burnout to Burning Bright, which is a collaboration of 25 authors who have different modalities, for anybody who feels that overwhelm, because the world is changing at such a rapid pace.
Mm.
And there are so many things that are happening that we can't always put it all together and keep it all together. There are so many tools and small things, and I call them micro clicks in each day that you can use to be able to feel grounded, feel whole, feel calm, feel aligned, so that you can be much more present in whatever you're doing.
That's beautiful. And we talked about connection, and we talked about some of the way that you work with people. So tell us a little bit more, Scott, about how people can directly connect with you and learn more about the work that you do.
Thank you. My website is R. Scott Holmes, and come on down, send me an invite. We'll sit down, have a cup of coffee over the internet, and see if we can work together. And if not, I may have a guy.
That's beautiful. Perfect. Yeah, we'll have that website link in the video description below. So any of you listening, tuning in, just click that onto that and it'll take you right there into all the wonderful things of our Scott Holmes. You'll find right there too. And I know you're on Facebook and Instagram, so you can connect there as well, and LinkedIn too. And all of these books, yes, there's previous ones that are coming out, and you'll find all about all of that there too. And from all the other authors you mentioned were part of this book as well. I love these collaborative projects where everyone just gets to share. And we also get to see all the similarities. I find no matter where you are in the world, there is sort of a similar trajectory that people are on in their cycle of transformation. Some kind of awareness happens and go through a rite of passage or an initiation, and the transformation happens, and then you get to transcend the form that everything's taken before, and then be this new way of being, which, as it comes down to, has been us all along, and we just get
All
to
along.
remember that.
I love it.
Thank you so
Beautifully
much.
stated.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Scott, for being here and for sharing this time with us, and all of your insight, your wisdom, and your presence. Truly, I really enjoyed it.
I thank you very much, Jennifer.
And extending that to all of you that have been tuning in to Awaken and Ascend, we'd love to hear your feedback. What's emerging for you lately? What have you been thinking about? What have you been feeling into? What have you been discovering about yourself? Have you been burning out? Are you shining bright? Let us know what's happening. We'd love to continue this conversation down in the comments. Thank you so much for being here.